Thursday, August the 7th, 2025. We are 21 days away from Missouri opening up college football season. We'll have week 0, whatever they call it before it. Coke Zero. No, I don't like that. College football starts when it starts in the South. So Rob Brown, Brendan Martin here with you. A great show today. We got Coach Matt Dean over in Memphis. John Hartwell checks in from Monroe, Louisiana. Gary Harrison, Tuscaloosa.
Monroe.
We're going to be bouncing all over the SEC. And if you've had a chance, I saw it on TikTok this morning, told Brendan, a walk-on football player. All we hear about is all that other, you know what? This is a walk-on from Ocala, Florida. Cameron King gets a full scholarship at Auburn. Watch the reaction of his teammates. That's what it's all about, man. Best 60 minutes in the SEC. Brendan, say it. The hour of power.
The hour of power.
Hey, take a picture with your telephone, with your cell phone, of the QR code. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And throughout the day, Brendan is working every magic angle. It's unbelievable. The stuff of this channel. We got 8 shows on this channel. Looking to add more. We're building it. We're your one-stop shop for SEC Sidelines Sports Network. We're hoping Roman Harper can join us tomorrow. Ross Dellinger is set to come on next Friday. We're going to have you know what? The only easy day was yesterday. Let's get started. And Brendan will bring in Coach Matt Dean on his Yeti Blue in the Bluff City. Matt, we have a cat named Matt, so I have to be careful when I'm saying Matt because he'll come running in here. But because he likes to chew on Ethernet cords, he's locked up during the show. John Hartwell, having a morning cup of coffee. How you doing, Stretch? It's
doing well. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing great.
I got to tell you, we had a cool discussion yesterday with Barry Trammell, legendary sports writer, Daily Oklahoma, now the Tulsa World. And we're talking about what's going on in college athletics, the schedules, what we're doing, what we're spending money on. And we talked a lot of football. You know, this is the great game, college football. We're 21 days out from the start. I don't know what it is, but it's true. Not even the adults can botch this. It's just such a great game because it pulls everybody together. So, you know what? I'll start with you, Matt. Coaching, being a part of these kids' lives, they remember it forever. And I think we're on the other side of all the craziness. In this college football, we got the top 25 poll has come out. A lot of recency bias, but you know what? It gives us a lot of stuff to talk about.
Guys, it's always good to be back on the show. I want to tell you something. Last night I was bored, so I went on Netflix and I watched Any Given Saturday. Okay, I don't know if you guys have heard about this documentary.
Yeah, I've heard.
Brendan, after last night, I grew up an Iowa fan, and I'm still an Oregon fan because my son works there, but I am now a Florida Gator fan. I saw the episode with the Gators and how behind the scenes they kept that thing together last year. Big props to Graham Mertz, who I didn't realize is with the Texans right now, but
yeah,
what a fan I am of the relationship of him and DJ Lagway, you know, because – couple thoughts, and I'll let John take over. In that Tennessee game, I didn't realize that's when Graham tore his ACL, and they were playing quite well before that. And obviously, they didn't play very well against A&M the week before when he came back from the concussion, right? But in some ways, that set the table for DJ, and maybe they don't have the season they finish with if DJ doesn't get that opportunity. I don't know, but the way they handled it. And I'll give Billy Napier some credit, too, because I know he's an easy target the last 3 years. But, man, it just seems like, you know, and we preach this as coaches, but he handles adversity really well. He stays within himself. He's obviously a man of faith. He loves his family. But, I mean, there were a lot of people on him last year. And I think, you know, the old adage is, hey, those guys at that level get paid a lot of money, so they deserve to take all that criticism. And I don't disagree with that. But I just think that the Gators are primed, if they stay healthy, Brendan, Rob, John, to have another, hopefully, a magical run in the football playoffs. I am pulling for that locker room.
Well, and not to interrupt, John, I agree with a lot of what you have to say, except for some of the things that I don't agree with, and
Sure, I understand.
that's becoming a little bit more of a narrative now. We've heard some of the interviews, but not having an offensive coordinator and stuff like
Yeah.
that, I think is really going to be what did they say? It'll make him or break him.
Yeah, the rise or the fall.
It'll be one or the other, and this is the season for that. But yesterday, breaking, I don't know if you guys probably didn't heard about it as much, but Dallas Wilson
I heard that
is hurt and out for 2025, and that like now they're loaded, and they're certainly loaded in that position. But everyone was real excited for Dallas Wilson. It was a big push. So and then Lagway certainly having again lower body injury strain or whatever it is, but you don't want to see that before the season starts. That's all I'm going to say. John Hartwell, how are you, sir?
Hey, doing well. How are you guys today?
Great.
Hey, it's hard to believe. 3 weeks till the start of college football season. Obviously, you guys know this, and some of the listeners know this. I made a career decision 3 days ago, stepping away from the AD's job at ULM. Totally my call and our family's call, and that doesn't mean that I may not reappear somewhere else as an AD sooner or later, but looking at a bunch of options, some consulting gigs. Hell, I may go full time with you guys.
I was just going to say, we have a spot for you right here.
Hell,
I don't know what you're
John, I need a
trying to
post coach
figure
up in
out,
Memphis,
my
Tennessee.
wife told me I needed to look at a haircut. I'm going to take a snapshot here. And I got to figure out whether I'm going the Rob route or I may just go.
Come on, dog.
Yeah,
you're plus 6. Go 6'4". It gives a couple 2 inches on her height.
John,
like 7 foot.
John, you could also be on the SEC Sideline Sports Network basketball team. We're looking for a center.
I like it. Hey, I can go half court these days. So, but I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I can I can bang with anybody in the post still. So
I bet you can. I
Yeah.
bet you can. No, I mean, look, John, this has got to be for you. Just looking at the big picture now, you're in the mix. You're in the middle of all this stuff. Let's get your thoughts, man. You speak with a lot of authority.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing, and whether you're coaching, whether you're in the radio or production business, whether you're in the investment business, obviously in athletics, my dad used to say this. I used to say, man, is that really true? But there's a lot of truth to this. Life comes down to two things a lot of times: dollars and cents. And I'm not talking SENSE. I'm talking CENTS.
Yeah.
But it is going to be interesting going forward. The haves and have-nots, and I think that disparity becomes wider and wider. But the good news is college athletics is here to stay, and regardless of what political side of the fence you fall down on, I do applaud the Trump administration from saying, hey, there's got to be something done to preserve this, because it's not going to go away, but it's teetering further on insanity every day. And I think, some guardrails are a good thing. And I think getting people involved who are in the weeds, because there's a lot of people who are armchair quarterbacks, coaches, athletic directors who have no idea the day-to-day stuff that goes on that, may not seem like significant items until they are. And so that's, but the beauty of it is the games are about to start back up. We're 6 weeks out from the last pitch being thrown at Omaha and LSU beating Coastal Carolina. And we're 3 weeks away from the kickoff of college football season. And I think, again, once the games start, that a lot of this, it doesn't go away, but it doesn't take the headlines, the minutia of some of this stuff that we're dealing with. And fans get to go back to being fans, which is exciting.
We're all undefeated. Yeah. We're all undefeated.
Yeah. What makes college so special is it's like family, you're a Missouri fan, you're a Florida fan, you're Tennessee. That's your family. Somebody says your school sucks. It's like saying you got ugly children. I mean, you're going to take it personally. And I think that people double down and triple down on their schools. I've never, I don't know. People get mad at America. I don't know anyone who's ever left and given up being an American. I don't know anyone who's ever quit being a fan of their school. I've never met. I mean, Brendan. He just like he says, by default I grew up a Gator. Well, God, buddy's your dad.
And you know what? I grew up a Gator in Colorado, bro. I mean, dude, I went to the Rocky Mountain Gator Club. That was like, the symbol was like an alligator, like, spelunking or something.
In the Rockies.
In the Rockies. I was like, sweet, this is so college football.
They just thought your entire wardrobe was Lacoste Izod. They didn't know that was a Florida Gator.
They really did.
And that's the thing, Matt. I mean, and by the way, there's something out there on social media. Iowa looks like they have a quarterback. So, look, it doesn't matter where you go. I remember going pheasant hunting November of 97 up in Mount Ayr, Iowa, about 35 miles outside of Des Moines. And Jake was one of our guides. We're out in the middle of the switchgrass. That stuff's about 10 feet tall. You walk in that stuff all day looking for roosters. You get in a bar having a drink. Yep, you've been in the shit. You got that 1,000-yard stare. And I'm going to tell you what, the conversation with everybody in the bars up in Mount Ayr, Iowa. And by the way, we stayed 5 nights at the Oddfellows Lodge. That was an interesting place to stay. But they knew college football, and they watched SEC football on the sports channel. They were as familiar with what we had. And I was like, well, hell, I've been watching you since Hayden Fry got there in 79. And I had the only clients and people I know in history that had a vacation home in Des Moines that lived in Memphis. I was like, that's our vacation home. They go to Des Moines on the Raccoon and the Des Moines River. Matt, college football, you're a coach. You get to coach basketball, men's, women's, everything. There's something that it just connects us. We get mad, and every day as we get closer toward kickoff, the love affair just gets stronger. This is what's happening.
Guys, growing up in the state of Iowa, and you may know the geography a little bit, Rob, but, we don't have any pro sports in Iowa. So Iowa football and Iowa basketball, and I think my friends in Ames, Iowa would take issue with me, the Iowa State fans, but Iowa is our pro sports team. So this summer, there's been some excitement because the Hawkeyes got a transfer quarterback, Gronowski, Mark Gronowski. His father, Ray, actually played at Drake University. He's similar age to me. When I was at Drake, he was our quarterback at Drake. And this young man, he's a baller. Now, a little bit about Iowa the last 5 to 7 years. They've had outstanding defenses. They just have not hit it at the quarterback spot. We'll see. I mean, I think the problem is the Hawkeyes lost a lot on defense the last 2 years. So maybe they're better on offense this year, but will they be better as good as they've been on the defensive side? But I'll tell you a name, Phil Parker, the defensive coordinator at the University of Iowa, who played at Michigan State, is one of the finest defensive coordinators in the whole country. You probably don't hear his name very often, and he's done a phenomenal job with their football program. But you're right, Rob. I was not one of those Iowans that was in the switchblade grass, whatever you call that. I was eating a lot of my corn and pork chops and taters at the dinner table.
Well, by the way, Des Moines is the pork chop capital of the world.
I didn't
Chicago steakhouses.
I mean, how did you know that?
Because I've been to Des Moines and I've been out there to the racetrack and eaten dinner with my clients, and the pork chops were that thick. I mean, you're like going, Ditka, heart, it's just, I got a bear claw clock down in there. It was incredible.
Wow. Hey, come on, guys. Matt was in the red clay of the infield of the Field of Dreams. He wasn't out there wading his way through the cornfield.
Middle infielder, John. Middle infielder.
It's called switchgrass. And when you don't cut it, it just gets like sticks. It's like steel. But I'm going to tell you, college football, you look here in the SEC right now, you got a bunch of teams in the top 25. John, Ohio State at number 2 in the coaches poll. Texas at number 1. Ohio State is a rebuild, at least early on. Texas goes up there. Remember when they went up there and they stomped Michigan last year? Everybody thought that was a great win. Michigan ended up being a 500 team. What narrative right now do you think will define college football early on? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm a big fan of these early season marquee matchups, and I know some of the coaches don't necessarily like them, but I think coaches are coming around. 10 years ago, coaches, hell no, I'm not playing one of those games right out of the gate. But now, that's one of the beautiful byproducts of the CFP expansion that, you lose one of those early. There's a track record of being able to recover from that. So, I think it's really good for the game. I think it helps jumpstart games. I know everybody wants to play their, FCS opponent, whatever, early to knock the cobwebs off. But I think these early round marquee matchups are really, really good for the game. I'll still go back to, I think there's a hidden reason why Texas is ranked number one. Yeah, there's a guy named Manning, taking the snaps. But I'm a little partial to Neil Brown, but I think the fact that very quietly Neil Brown is on that staff to help Sark, and Sark is, an extremely talented coach, but a calming influence to Arch Manning. They're going to be tough to beat. I will say that.
And they got a really good defense too. Kalani Sitake, I got it right, head football coach at BYU. Y'all know Barry Trammell brought this up. There's the switch. That's it.
Good job, Brendan. Good job.
It turns brown in the fall, and I'm telling you, it's incredible. So Kalani Sitake, the head football coach at BYU, was in the switchgrass, and he came up with this thing because he talked about it at Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas 3 weeks ago. He said, hey, we play 9 conference games in the Big 12. Why not play our 3 non-conference games, one against the SEC, one against the Big 10, and one against the ACC? So, wow, what about that, Coach Matt Dean? How cool would that be? Because look, I'm going to say it for the record. If you judge one conference versus another conference by what happens in bowl games, you are dead wrong, because I hate to say it, but a lot of those players have checked out. They're there physically, but mentally they're not there, Matt.
It's a really interesting concept. John could probably attest to this too, but those 3 non-conference games help out a lot of other schools in the bye games with budgets. I'm guessing, John, because I know
absolutely
you had always scheduled that way. My cousin Tom Bowen, when he was at Memphis, they were not afraid to go on the road non-conference. He was strong about that. That money not only helps football, it helps other schools in the department. So I think if you're playing 9 or 8 conference games, I just want it to be consistent. I want all the schools, let's not have 1-9, 1-8. Let's everyone play 9. And then that's a really good test to determine how we're going to determine the 12-team playoff. And I think probably, guys, we all realize that's going to go to 16 in the next couple of years. I think that's the train that's moving on the track right now. That eliminates some of the buys. But I do hey, we want quality games. And going back to John's point, that's what we've done in week 0, week 1, whatever, some of these games. I mean, Rob, I'm going to tell you what, I'm a big – I listened to you guys last night with Scarborough. I think Auburn can win 10 football games, but I'm going to tell you what, the only way to get to 10 in my math is by winning at Baylor.
Yes.
And that first game is always tricky. Brendan, I go back to last year, even the Miami and Florida game, those turnovers early on, hurt the Gators' momentum, and they lose that football game. And I tell you what, if you're going to play those games like Clemson, everyone's talking about Clemson. They should be. But it's a big game for LSU too. And that's why I still think, I'm curious. I know Gary's on later today. We see him most Thursdays. I think Bama's going to roll, but if there's a lot of talk coming out from that quarterback in Florida State, and maybe that's just trying to get his guys to believe that they can play with the Tide. Yeah. But that's an interesting game too, because it's down in Florida State.
Yeah,
up in Florida State. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. It's in Tallahassee. It's at a day game. I'm not sure if it's a night game. But either way, Chief Osceola comes out on Renegade and throws the spear at midfield.
Oh, stop.
That voice, Gene Deckerhoff, the great voice of Florida.
Who cares about him? Or Talatrashy, that whole place.
Yeah.
They throw batteries at you. There's no.
Hey, Rob, you better watch out.
If you're an FSU fan, you're watching, just
Brendan's
go away.
Going to start the one-fingered chop at you here.
I mean, I only drink things that are orange. Yeah. You're talking about Chief Osceola.
But
on the back of the horse.
It's the passion of
flaming spear. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well,
It's like
it
a
is a
village
wild
person
time.
out there.
I'll tell you, I think going back to this LSU at Clemson game, we're hearing about LSU's got tiger paws everywhere. Let's be frank. Will Vandervoort, who covered the Clemson Insiders, been on the show a couple of times this summer. We'll get him on again before that big game coming up. He said the real Death Valley, Frank Howard, 1939 at Clemson. That's when it was named Death Valley. LSU adopted the nickname, the moniker, in 1959, Halloween night, when Billy Cannon and at least 8.7 million people were actually claimed to have been at that game. But when he ran that punt back against Ole Miss 7-3 in 1959, that was when they called it Death Valley. But they got a 20-year head start. By the way,
but is anybody on this panel right now really going to call like LSU not Death Valley?
No, it is Death Valley.
Well, I know, but like, to me,
Death
that's
Valley.
the OG. I don't care what anyone says. To me, it's always going to be Death Valley. It's going to be LSU. I don't think I'll be able to.
Clemson, if you haven't been to Clemson, though, good gosh.
I have. It's beautiful.
It's when you come in on
Great
Lake Hartwell, John. The family gave it was a bequest from my great grandfather.
Hey, wishful thinking there.
Jonathan,
Lake Hartwell is going. I was swimming down at the bottom.
Hey, or as a lot of people refer to it, Clemson is Auburn with a lake.
Absolutely. It is. And I love it. Ellis Johnson's on here on Mondays. He calls him Tom Cruise or Hollywood. Brendan nickname.
Hollywood.
Coach Johnson's son is a preferred walk-on. I think he goes on scholarship this month. And at Clemson, a tight end, Charlie, big kid, really good hands. I think he's going to play a lot. And he goes out there to practice a couple of times a week on the golf cart with Dabo Swinney. The life of Ellis Johnson is a great life. But I'm looking here at the SEC, the ACC, all these conferences. John, you think about this. We talk about these bye games. I wonder, Jackie Sherrill has mentioned this before. If you have the group of 65, they have their national championship. Everybody else has their national championship. Coach Sherrill says emphatically, I can assure you it will matter to the other schools just as much as it does to the other schools. It will be of equal importance. We need to figure out something like that because this country's morale hinges on good sports, and good sports are local. It matters when things are ginning and you're winning. It's great for the economy, and people write checks when they're happy. They don't write checks when you're not winning. That's just the fact.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Here's one of the things, and having been in those rooms and those discussions, I think the concern of the group of 5 or group of 6, if you're now going to put the pack 8.5 in there with those, is
8.25.
Hey, if we have 2 different championships per se, is the revenue, is the money that's generated from the CFP and goes to the group of 6 schools, is that going to be equal if you are better if you have a secondary championship, for lack of a better term? And I think that's the biggest challenge. But I think that conversation will continue. Hey, let me go back to a really interesting point, because y'all talked about 3 games, and I know we have a preseason top 25. We have all of these things coming out at the start of the season. Let me give a little different twist to Auburn and Baylor, to Alabama and at Florida State, and to Clemson and LSU. Regardless who wins or loses any of those 3 games, the 3 losers of those games, instantly, those 3 coaches are going to be talked about on the hot seat. It's really an interesting dynamic because it's 6 really good football teams, but you look at what's happened in the last 12 to 24 months, and whether it's Dave Aranda or Hugh Freeze or any of those guys, they're the 3 losers of those games in week 1 are going to be said to be on the hot seat. Interesting dynamic.
It is true. And you know what? I think the hot seat talk is going to dissipate somewhat, because I go back every day and I say this. Do you realize there's a $21.5 million gratuity tax added to that? People cannot. Barry Trammell said it yesterday. Barry was just on a roll. He was like Brother Theodore on the Letterman show. He let it rip. It was awesome. And he goes, Look, if you've got money to do a buyout for Brent Venables, let's say that would have happened. He goes, I don't see it happening. But if you did, think of how many linebackers and quarterbacks and wide receivers you could buy with that money. I think the trend, Matt Dean, going forward, you keep the head coach as long as he's, of sound mind. And the longer they stay there, they kind of go crazy because of the pressure. But you go get great coordinator. You go find you a Chip Kelly, a smug, unhappy man, but he's a winner. You go find you those elite coordinators. You shell out $2 or $3 million for one of them, but it beats the hell out of a $50 million buyout, or in the case of Jimbo Fisher, $76 million. Matt?
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the byproducts, and you guys chime in here too, of the NIL and portal era is you're seeing Chip Kelly's a great example, Rob. Leaves the job at UCLA as a head coach, takes $1 to $2 million, whatever the number was, to work with one of his former players, Ryan Day.
2.6. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. But anyway,
his accountant told me that.
Hey, what a great gig. I get out of the hot seat. I go work with Ohio State. After the Michigan game, everyone was kind of questioning what his offensive game plan was, but then he found Jeremiah Smith in the playoffs, brothers. He found Jeremiah Smith in the playoffs, and they rolled. And as someone that was at that Rose Bowl wearing green, they were dominant. And, you can't take anything away from him. And that's another thing. Like I talked to my son last night. He's in the middle of camp. And, Rob, I talked to him a little bit about getting a hold of our friend Dave. But the reality of the situation is, he goes, Dad, here's what's crazy. 2 years ago, if there was 12 teams in the playoffs instead of 4, we're in despite losing to Washington in the Pac-12 championship game, and we're hard out. He goes, last year, if it's 4, we may win the national championship. He goes, this new system, all you have to do is get in and get hot, and you have a chance. And really, that's a little bit like the NFL playoffs. You look at last year, everyone thought the Detroit Lions were going to have a great chance to get to the Super Bowl. Jaden Daniels led the Commanders to a convincing win on the road. And I think that's what's really making this interesting is you're seeing some great head coaches. Gus Malzahn's back in the mix as a coordinator. I think that's a really good subplot to that game, John.
Yeah.
You got Malzahn over there just saying, hey, can I throw some darts at Bama, right? And I just think you're seeing some great head coaches decide, you know what, you mentioned Neil Brown, John. Hey, I'm going to go help a friend that I trust, and they trust me. And it just makes these staffs more whole, more complete. And that's about getting quality coaches in the building, right? And I think that's really important these days.
John, is the offensive coordinator position like the new desired position in college coaching, being like an OC or defense? Because it worked out for Chip Kelly. And I hear like I paid a lot of attention to interviews and post game press conferences and stuff, and I hear Billy Napier now changing his verbiage when he's talking about the league. This league we play in now. He's having his vocabulary is changing to be more of like a professional NFL sort of conversation. I don't know. I mean, is that where we're headed? Better than anybody.
I think it is, and I think you can take that beyond football. I mean, whether it's men's or women's basketball or the athletic director's position, especially at the Power 4 level, the money these days, and most of these guys, like you said, whether it's Malzahn or some of these other guys, have been head coaches. They've made very good livings. And oh, by the way, they continue to make a good living. Yeah. And there's something to be said for being a rung or two below the firing line, and you're not the head coach, and you can go, just think about it. As an OC, you can go all in on football. You don't have to worry so much. I mean, you got to do a handful of, media spots and things like that. But you are back to being a ball coach, which is where all these guys started. And there is so much to be said for that, for being in a T-shirt and having a whistle around your neck and coaching ball as opposed to having to worry about all of the periphery stuff that is in today's world as a head coach of any sport at the collegiate level or as the athletic director.
All right, I'm going to throw one out there. If I'm the University of Florida, I put a Catholic priest on staff and get down to South Florida, to St. Thomas Aquinas and all those Catholic schools, because that's where Jeremiah Smith came from. He ends up at Ohio State. Florida, there's a ton of these Catholic schools down there produce so many great players. And the Jeremiah Smith leaving the great state of Florida, No, that should never happen. Billy,
Look,
just have game day mass like they do at Notre Dame. Look what's happened since Marcus Freeman brought it back. But Brendan, there's
well,
so many people in Florida. I don't know how you handle it.
well, Rob, I mean, look, Catholics like money too.
Yeah, I know. We know that.
I
We
mean,
know that.
So I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well,
Keep praying, Rob.
Yeah, keep praying, Rob. Keep believing. We're in 2020. We're not.
no.
They get paid now.
No, they do. What I'm saying is
A lot.
but have relations because the Catholic school system in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. But then there's Trinity Catholic and Ocala. They're all. And is that where Jake Slaughter went?
I think so. I don't know that for sure.
But Jake Slaughter.
I think he did just because I know his group. And, I don't want to leave this guy waiting. We're going to bring Gary Harris.
Yeah, let's bring Gary Harris.
Drum into this conversation.
Gary, welcome WVUA Channel 23, Tide 100.9. Gary, it's ball time, man. We're on here talking football practice, excitement.
We're talking about grass.
Anybody talking about football in Tuscaloosa right now?
No.
No. Why? Not at all.
Well, first I got a bone to pick with Rob.
Nice.
John, I saw the announcement on social media that you're leaving ULM, and I retweeted it and talked about what a great guy you are. And I only time I get Rob to call me is when he wants to get me on the show. I've been trying to get him to let me know where you're going and what you're doing, and I can't get him to call me back.
I apologize. I just didn't want to.
Hey, we can talk offline, Gary.
Yeah.
Okay. I know why he didn't do it, but getting back to the football discussion here in Alabama, it's at a fever pitch right now because I think being over there some, and let me say this: people ask me all the time how the team's going to do, and you never really know. I mean, you have to play the season, but they think they're going to be good. I mean, I really get the vibe that the players and the coaches believe that they've got a chance to have an elite team, a team that can compete for an SEC and national championship. So, I mean, you got to go out and you got to make it happen. And the margin for error, as I think Kalen DeBoer found out in his first year in this league, is razor thin. But, got a lot of guys back. They retained their roster. They added a few transfers, got some really – I think impact freshmen coming in, and I think they do feel good about the quarterback position, even though they're going to have a first-time starter there, and I believe it'll be Ty Simpson. But right now the vibe here is and again, I know you go around the league, probably every school right now feels good, right? Everybody's 0-0.
We're all undefeated, Gary. All undefeated.
For some programs, the highlight's the preseason. A few weeks in, reality hits. But I really believe that the Alabama coaches and players that they got a chance to be what they've been more times than not over the last 15 years, a national championship contender.
Gary, when you look at Alabama, it's always about defense, running the ball. And I was talking to my best friend from childhood went to Alabama, Boyd. And he's like, Brown, we're going to run the ball this year. We're going to play defense. And 3 weeks from today, I'll be up there with the Alabama gang and the Auburn folks on one of our fishing trips. We do 2 every summer. And there'll be a little talk about football, a lot of drinking, and a lot of embellishing. But the Alabama people are convinced that running the ball and playing great defense is the way out. And you know what? When your offense has the potential that it does with Ryan Grubb and whatever Kalen DeBoer's doing, you can win a national championship. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but you got to get that first win at Florida State. How fired up is the Bama fan base? What are they going to take? 40,000 people to Tallahassee? 50?
I don't know about that. Incredible. That's the thing about Doak Campbell. They'll be the renovations are complete, and that'll be the first game in the renovated stadium. But they're another place where they've dropped the capacity. I want to say, Rob, it's 10 or 12,000 seats less than it used to be. That's kind of a trend, it seems to be.
Yeah, that's trending everywhere. Florida's doing that, and a lot of places.
Yeah.
Luxury premium seats.
Yeah. So, but no, they'll take a lot of people, as many as they can get in. But I tell you this, it's going to be a tough ticket because the Florida State people. I've talked to a friend of mine, media friend down there in that area, who says they're fired up. I mean, I for whatever reason, and it had nothing to do with Alabama. I mean, Alabama wasn't going to turn down the invitation, but a lot of those people blame Alabama for 2 years ago when Florida State didn't get in the playoff, and they've hung on to that.
Yeah.
And talking to my friend, a lot of the Florida State people feel like what happened 2 years ago, crazy as this sounds, had a direct correlation to what happened to them this year or last year. It just took the wind out of their sails. They had to play the bowl game against Georgia with some opt-outs, as we know, and just got absolutely just destroyed.
31 quitters. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then you've got Gus Malzahn, Rob. We've talked about it. I mean, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I just think he's got a really competitive dislike for the University of Alabama, and he left the head coaching position at a really good school to go be a coordinator and a play caller. So I think he's going to throw everything into this game. And as I was told, they're going to try to win their other games too, but they really are treating this as a standalone game. So I think you're going to get a version of Florida State. Whatever that is the best that they can be. Now, I don't think it'll be good enough to beat Alabama, but I certainly think it's a game that Alabama should be, its first game, and they better be prepared to play. The fan base better understand that they're going into, a hornet's nest down there.
It's not fun to play there.
No, it's tough.
Yeah, I've never been to.
It's not a fun place to. I've been on sidelines many a times. I was there when Tebow was there. I mean, look, it's loud. I mean, that whole chop. It gets to you real bad because it's super dumb and it's super easy to do. And, it fits their IQ down there in Tallatrashy. So it's all right, but it's cool. They throw batteries at you on the sidelines if you were
Maury Gaston has commented from Mountain Brook. I think everyone's drinking from the same cup that Rob is this morning. This is awesome. Matt Dean, the mayor of Davenport, Iowa. How are you?
It's been a long time since anyone referenced me from Davenport, Iowa, but I'm very proud Davenport.
And he's been on the show for 25 minutes, so we don't have to intro him again.
But no, Gary, it's great to see you. I tell you what's really interesting. We had a discussion right before you came on, Gary, you mentioned Malzahn, about how some of these head coaches are, going back to be coordinators. But, I kind of personally experienced that myself. I got out in 2017 as a head coach. 26 straight years on the bus. I needed a break, went into administration and found out I didn't really like administration either. So now, full circle back, I'm back on the bench, but I'm really happy being an assistant coach because I'm not in the line of fire directly. And I get a coach, and I'm a ball coach again. I'm with players, student athletes. It's just been a wonderful transition. So I just think it's really intriguing with Malzahn because Norvell, the reason he got the Florida State job is because he's considered an offensive guru to some degree when he was at Memphis. And you got Malzahn there. I'm curious that, if that's a standalone game for them, which I think they believe that, they're going to throw the kitchen sink. I want to see how competitive they are because I still think Alabama's line of scrimmage is going to control the football game. And in the fourth quarter, they're going to just punish them, I think, at the line of scrimmage. But I think that's a real interesting matchup. I know everyone's talking LSU, Clemson, and people are talking Auburn, Baylor, but that's the game for me, guys. I really am curious to see if Florida State is going to, make a jump back and keep Norvell's job safe. They have to be a much better football team this year. They have to be. We'll see.
Well, offensively and defensively for Florida State, they've got two new coordinators. Was it Tony White? What's his name? The defensive side.
Okay.
FSG, Gus and Tony White offered first inside scrimmage and team practice so far. I was just reading the article, but I that's tough to do. But look, you weren't here, Gary, for a second ago. I was just discussing how important is the offensive coordinator the new cool spot to be as a coach now in college football. What's your take on that? Because we were talking about Chip Kelly and
yeah. I tell you, Brendan, that's a great point because here's what I think is happening. And Matt and John and Rob, you can chime in. The salaries for head coaches have gotten so astronomical. I mean, just incredible amount of money that they make. So once you sign one or two big contracts, financially, you're set. Yeah. So it frees you up in a case like Chip Kelly or Gus Malzahn. And as Matt was referring to get all that stuff off of you that goes with the head coach, and you can go back and you can be, and they're not making jump changes as a coordinator, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You made the money, so it's like, you know what? I'm tired of dealing with the headaches of being a head coach. I want to call plays. Yes. I want to do what I got in this to do. So I think that is a trend that you will see continue. I think you'll see former head coaches that are like in Gus's case, current head coach. Yeah. I mean, leave a job to go be a coordinator because that's really what they want to do. and financial concerns are not there anymore. Whereas, 30, 40, 50 years ago, I mean, the gap between, first of all, assistant coaches, some of them barely made a living, and even head coaches, but if you got an opportunity to be a head coach, you did not leave a head coaching job to be an assistant unless you were fired. So I think that's something we'll see more of.
Well, you heard Barry Trammell. Barry Trammell was on yesterday from Oklahoma. Remember, Brendan? He talked about, tragically, the son of a former Oklahoma State coach who was there like 95 to 2000 was killed, and he didn't have life insurance. They're doing a GoFundMe. His father, when he coached at Oklahoma State, his last year there, like in 2000, his salary was $140,000 a year. And you're like, look at it now. You've got, could be 7 to 10 million, John. And I can assure you they're in the 38.6% bracket. John, what Gary's saying, and I'll tell you the secret behind Eli's success at Missouri, and I saw him at media days, was the former administrative assistant that Tommy Tuberville had, that's one of the best organizers and planners in the business, Andy Lutz. I saw Andy's up at Missouri now. You get a guy like Andy Lutz, because, Coach Tuberville used to say, when you become a head coach, you better be careful because you don't get to coach anymore, John.
Yeah, that's true. And, a lot of those guys, and Gary, I said this earlier, all of these football coaches, all these head coaches at one time started out as a GA, started out as something. And, you see a lot of guys that reach the pinnacle that have done very well financially, that when you get to the pinnacle, there's very little time that you're wearing a T-shirt and got grass on your cleats or shoes and got a whistle around your neck and coaching ball. There's so much that goes into being a head coach, whether it's football, men's or women's basketball, any sport these days, especially at the Power 4 level. And so, a lot of guys are saying, hey, I'll trade that in and, maybe lop a zero off the end of my salary, but I've got some money in the bank, and, I've still got an opportunity to make a very comfortable living. And guess what? I'm one rung or two rungs below the firing line. I can coach ball. I don't have to be, you've got to manage your room or your offense or your defense, but you've now got a general manager handling the NIL components of it. You get to be a ball coach, and the head coaches, yes, it's high reward, but it's high risk too. And there's a lot of people who are walking away from that to say, hey, let me just go coach ball. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's good for the game.
I do too.
And, they're very calculated about getting back in. I maintain a very close relationship with Neil Brown, and he's with Sarkisian now. Neil's going to have an opportunity. His family's moved to Austin, but I don't think he's buying a house. He's going to have an opportunity come December to look at another job, but he can be selective. It's not like when he was trying to be a first-time head coach and, hey, I need to jump at this opportunity. You can be selective, and I think that overall is good for the game.
Yeah, and you know what? The winningest program in the history of college football that's never won a national championship? How about them ears? West Virginia.
Well, you didn't give us a chance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to take a crack at it.
Okay. But there's four.
Rob Brown, the worst, like the game show host ever. Like, who wants to be a millionaire?
$20,000 pyramid. Rob Brown. Here we go.
I'm no Chuck Woolery.
Is it A, B, or C, or D? It's A. Final answer.
All right, let me say this. The other four schools on that list are Virginia Tech, Wisconsin, and Oregon. And there's one more that Navy is the other one. Those are the five winningest programs in history that hadn't won a national championship. And God, Oregon.
So Navy never won.
Yeah.
I know Army did. Navy never won a pole championship, Rob?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. I mean, and I like Gary, what John just said about Neil Brown, and tell Coach Brown, anytime you want to bring him on with you, love to hear from coaches anytime. I think there's a trend. Coach Bryant made a lot of money in business deals and stuff, but when Coach Sherrill gave his morning routine on the show that time about 3 years ago, and we have him on the show good about 7 or 8 times. He said he was up at 4:00 every morning. 5:00, the Holiday Inn on McFarland Boulevard. 6:00, he's in that office planning. 11 to 12, he studied the stock market. 12 to 1, he snuck off to, I don't know, Archibald's Barbecue, someplace where he could just go kind of kick back. You know, Gary, Tuscaloosa. 1 to 3:15, he's on that practice field. And if he was singing a hymnal from the gospel, it was going to be a tough day. If he sang, we shall gather down by the river. Coach Sherrill gave every minute of his day, and he said, and he let you know if the practice the day before wasn't good. But by the way, I think they all want to just coach ball. But Coach Spurrier, the head ball coach, they long for that, Gary. I mean, look at Matt. Matt's happier than a 9-year-old Christmas Eve who's getting the new Sierra Schwinn 10-speed, isn't he?
Well, it's like you said, Rob, with Coach Tuberville's comment about you as a head coach, you don't get to coach. I think to some degree that's true. It's. I look at the great head coaches now, and I think of CEOs, people that run an organization that are able to hire good people. And as you said, that's what Coach Saban was so good at. I mean, he laid out the response. I mean, you worked hard, but when you came to work every day, and I don't know if you can say this about many work environments in any industry, when you came to work at University of Alabama under Nick Saban, you knew exactly what your job responsibilities were. There was no coming in, well, I wonder what I'm supposed to do. I think that's part of being a good manager is everybody in the organization knows what's expected of them. And I think that's what good head coaches have to do first. I mean, everybody at that level, I think you guys would agree, can coach. They're good coaches. They wouldn't be at that level. But running an organization is, some coaches can do it and some coaches can't. Some coaches don't want to. And I knew my broadcasting through the years, some of the best football coaches I've met were assistant coaches. They were guys who had never been a head coach. But as far as on that field, and the head coach would tell you, hey, S.C. Sullins is one of them.
Yes.
Coached in the SEC, but when he was with Tom Good over at Scuba, junior college football, I remember Tom Good telling me, he said, that man is a football coach right there.
Yeah.
He said, and he was rough. I won't even tell. This was the early 90s. Yeah. And I won't even tell you the way they coached at East Mississippi in those days.
Yeah.
You get arrested if you coach like that now.
Well, as Douglas Niedermeyer said at the Interfraternity Council meeting, the decorum prohibits me listing the profanities used at a Roman toga party. I think, golly, whenever, and Brendan, all of us, Gary, John, Matt, when you get around coaches off the record, away from the cameras, and they will tell you, and I've noticed this with successful clients I've worked with over the years that have tremendous wealth. They'll say, this is what kind of rings true with all of them. Go, you know what? When my wife and I were just starting out, and we had 4 kids running around the house in diapers, and we didn't have a lot of money. God, I'd give anything to go back. But I mean, the money's great and all, but people treat you differently. It's different and all, but it was fun. The journey is what's more fun, the journey or just because sometimes what if the dog ever caught the UPS truck when he chased it down the road? What's he going to do? It's about the chase.
He'll stop chasing the truck.
Yeah, but he will. But I think, and Gary, you get a chance every day to talk with a lot of people. You have a lot of regulars that are on there. You said something last year. You said, Mississippi State, Alabama, most people don't think about that rivalry, but you said, as a local news guy, driving on 82, it's an hour and 15 minutes apart. It's the relationships. We had David Murray from Dog Bite 24/7 on, who's covered Mississippi State since 1979 on the show Tuesday. It was that guy's, it's just one of the good guys like you are who loves the game. And that's what we got to remember. It's the money, forget the money. I mean, it's part of it, but we're focusing on the games. What are y'all talking about in Tuscaloosa right now? What are the concerns of the Alabama fan base? Because I know there's a little bit of excitement.
Well, I want to first address the journey versus the destination. Unlike you guys, I'm always on the journey because I've never made the kind of money for my destination to be over. So
we're all travelers.
Hey, I'm that dog that as soon as he gets on the road, he just goes ahead and stops. He's got no chance.
That's the switchgrass, Gary.
We're the switchgrass. We're all in the weeds.
Big money Rob up there now. But
No,
anyway, but getting back to what you're talking about with the way the conference has changed, yeah, I do miss that rivalry against Mississippi State. I mean, I loved because it's almost like a home game. Some of these trips are so long, and that drive is so pleasant in the countryside and getting over there. And I love Starkville because it's even in the SEC, it's a rarity. It's smaller school, smaller enrollment. And I miss that ice cream. They made that ice cream and give it to you at halftime. But what are people talking about here? It's probably what they're talking about in Gainesville and Knoxville and Baton Rouge and Insert City. Is just excited for the season. I love the games, but it's being overshadowed some by the business of football. All of the stuff with NIL and the portal. It just kind of hangs over everything. On Saturdays. You can't. It feels the same to me on Saturdays, guys. I don't know about y'all when they run through the tunnel and everything. But the rest of the time, even though you want to talk ball, there's so many more people that are talking about what's going to happen or the good old days and the NIL and the portal. So it's a different conversation than maybe what we had 30 years ago when all you did was talk about the season. There was no you might talk about is this school cheating or something like that, but. For the most part, it's football. Now football is mixed in with all the stuff that's going on around it.
Yeah, and that's a great – because most successful people love to be reminded. I mean, if you could talk to Nick Saban, Gary, if anybody on here, if you met Nick Saban, what would you say to him?
I meet him in an elevator.
If
Gator clothes on at the SEC Media Days.
He did. In the elevator.
Yeah, I walked into the elevator. It was when it was in Bama.
Hoover with the Winfrey.
Yeah, this has slipped my mind. But I walked into the elevators and I just kind of had my media credential. We're staying at there, and he walks in with his two guards, the sheriffs, and he's not very tall. I didn't realize that. I'm 6'4". I'm 6'4", and I was donned in Gator Country outfits because I was working for GatorCountry.com. So I had white, orange, and blue all over me, and I'm standing there. And it was one of those uncomfortable moments where the elevator music kicks in. And it's and I'm standing, nobody else in the elevator, me and his entourage. And I'm he finally looks up at me. He's like, "Gators, huh?" And I was like, Yes, sir. And that was it. And then I about shit my pants. I thought he was going to kill me. He was super intimidating. And then he got out of the deal. And I was like, I'm so scared of Nick Saban for the rest of my life.
Well, Gary, our oldest, Gary's going to come back. Gary, when our oldest daughter, Mallory, was a freshman, having gone to St. Pius X in Atlanta, she was a freshman at Alabama. She's at Mass. They say, offer each other the sign of peace. She's sitting next to Nick Saban. And he looks at her, and she looks at him, and she goes, "That's okay, sir. People look at me like that all the time." And he started laughing and shook her hand. But if I saw Nick Saban, if I met him, you know what I'd ask you? I wouldn't talk about his football. I'd thank him for what he's done for the Catholic Church and the community in Tuscaloosa with Nick's kids. I think he takes more pride than that than anything.
We just had the Nick's kids lunch giveaway luncheon 2 days ago. $675,000 this year. Nearly 17 million since 2007 when the Sabans arrived have been given to nonprofits and charities, not just in Alabama, but some surrounding states too. But you're right. And now yesterday they had the groundbreaking for the Saban Center, which is going to be completed in 2027, which is a STEM and arts center that's going to be unbelievable, and the educational opportunities it's going to be open up for people. So the work that they've done, you're right, off the football field and continue to do has been unbelievable for the state.
It really has. Gary, I know you got a big show coming up 9 to 11 because I got the app on my phone. Let people know how they can follow you because you are a Twitter machine on Alabama.
I don't know about that. But I do have a good show today. Former Alabama running back Chris Anderson, who played for Coach Stallings and was a really good back in the early 90s, will be with me. And then I'm doing high school football previews. I got Austin Grammer on from American Christian Academy today. So, 9 to 11 on Tide109.com or download the Tide 109 app. And then tonight, local sports on WVUA 23. You can stream it at WVUA23.com or download the
What's
WVUA
that rivalry,
23
Gordo and Reform? What's it called?
Gordon and Pickett's kind of the 8 Mile War.
I love it.
Because they're 8 Mile. Reform and Gordo are 8 miles apart. And, it's a great high school football rivalry.
I love it. Gary, thank you so much, man. We'll see you again next week.
Good to see you, Gary.
Every time I hear the name Gordo, I think of the movie Fletch. I don't know.
Yeah. Gordo Fletch. Oh, I tell you,
muck on these windows.
Yeah. Gordon Liddy. Remember, he goes, yeah.
Gordon
So,
Liddy.
what do you think it is? Well, I think it's
all ball bearings these days.
All ball bearings these days. Hey, they don't make movies that funny anymore. Let me say before we go.
Well, they do. We just don't get it because we're too old, Rob.
Well, I love still nothing's better than
Rob. You need a shirt that just says "Get off my lawn."
Yeah, get off
right now. Everyone, get off the switchgrass.
I tell you what, man. I'm looking at that Vanelli's Deli sign and thinking in 2 hours I can go get me a Mia More sandwich. But hey,
until 2 o'clock.
Get out today. Landers Ford people, Collierville and Germantown come together at Poplar and Houston Levy. Brad Bellamy.
Let's say goodbye to our 2 guests before we do that.
Yeah.
Thank
Matt,
you, gentlemen.
John,
Have a nice.
I love the background. Both of y'all. The technology is perfect. Thank you so much for being on here with us.
We're working on our goodbyes still. It's about 2 years in. We're still working on how to say
the Irish goodbye. You guys take care. I'll see you next week.
I appreciate you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, Matt. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Look, Landers Ford, you got to drive. You got to have a vehicle. Got one you can trust. Ask for our friend Brad Bellamy, the general manager out at Landers Ford. Brad Bellamy's there. Seems like he lives there. 7 a.m., 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. And the service department is the cleanest I've ever seen. They will pick you up at your house or your office, provide round-trip transportation. You don't have to ask for a ride. The 25 Expeditions, the Broncos, the Mustangs, they've got the whole inventory, a massive inventory at Landers Ford, and they are committed. They're everywhere in the Mid-South. Their name's on 6 high school stadiums, including Christian Brothers High School, Tom Nick Stadium, Landers Field. They have put in a tremendous commitment. All you CBHS people out there, you're watching, you know it, support Landers. They are certainly supporting the Purple Wave. And right down the street, Hewlett and Dunn on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Great people out there. Charles Hall, his wife Laura, J.M. Huffman, Raven, Lydia, Squidward, the whole crew. Man, they got a lot of 50% off stuff. Bathing suits from Seeger. They've got the boots. Man, they've got great looking stuff coming in. Later this month, you'll start seeing the fall fashions coming in. Usually it gets a little cool around Labor Day, then it goes back hot. But they've got a lot of Barber, Filson, Duckhead, the luggage for Filson and STS, Old South, Devil Dog Jeans, Ariat. You can't find a place like this anywhere, and it's right there on the square. Just go in there, ask for Raven Carpenter for your wife. Get her some great looking clothes. Your girlfriend, Raven will square you away, as will Big JM or Charles. And Rumble Boxing Gym at Union and McLean in Midtown Memphis. What a place to go.
Well, Rob, I wanted to say, if you don't live in Memphis, you know, which most of our listeners don't, you can go to this QR code down here at the bottom. It will take you to their Instagram page. And let me tell you from experience, they ship is probably as good as experience as going inside the store itself. Beautiful boxing. They take care of their product. I've never seen anything shipped with such TLC. Wonderful. And you can go and screw going to, like, you know, some corporate Boot Barn or something. You really should check out they've got so much amazing stuff. Go to that Instagram QR code down there at the bottom, and you can see their products listed one by one. And we just wanted to make sure those folks knew that.
No, you're right. How stuff is packaged it's absolutely
important.
True. And they ship it out. I mean, they'll ship it out that day. Literally, the UPS or FedEx, however they're doing it that time, comes to the back door and they just hand it off. And I got to get Brendan an XL. He's 6'4", 212, all muscle. I got him something coming. And I'm going to tell you something.
And where are my gummies, for God's sake?
The gummies, Gummies? Dave took a vacation, and then he got busy, and he said, I apologize. This should have been shipped Monday. And I gave him your address, so they should be there. If not, I'll get them and FedEx them to you overnight. But I'm going to tell you, these gummies work, people. You can sleep like 8 hours of real sleep. They got energy, chill. They got the knockout. They also have lotions, droplets for pains and joint pains, all natural, grown out there in the mountains of Oregon. They're great people to work with. Bottom line, thanks everybody for watching. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Appreciate you. Watch this channel every chance you get. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Brendan.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy. Let's go have a great day.